I knew from reading the Webbart report in last month, May something, whenever it came out, it talked about Japan, Fukushima, people fleeing, diaspora, lots and lots and lots of people. It's not going to be a little bit, big area fleeing, huge area as a matter of fact. And the interpretation of the data, clearly we already know about Fukushima, so it must have something to do with Fukushima. And you know what? It does. And this is very interesting, because I know over the last couple of days you've heard about this typhoon, hurricane, whatever you wish to call it, that's going right up to Japan. And the current path that at least the last one I've seen, I haven't even looked today at all, but the last one I've seen shows it going and touching Fukushima area. So it's going to grab all that radiation and just throw it all over the place. That's just fantastic. I mean, this is incredible. This is just great. I mean, this is good. This is good news, right? I mean, and then they're fighting over there with the prime minister. Please don't turn on this other nuclear plant. It's been turned off. Please don't turn it back on. Look what happened at Fukushima. We don't need any more accidents. Nah, we're gonna turn it on anyways. So you know what? They may not be able to turn it on just yet because a little hurricane or typhoon's coming up. And if it grabs the crap in Fukushima and destroys it, and then that thing's even spewing far worse than it is now, and let me tell you something, it's bad right now, that radiation. Maybe they'll reconsider opening the other ones. Maybe, but then again, probably not. So, having said that, I just read today that they're talking about mandatory evacuations now in Japan, certain areas of Japan. And it's not going to be a little bit of people. So let me refer you, even though that headline is today, let me refer you to a month ago Webbart report. Before this storm even knew it was going to be born and go to Japan. All right. There are repeated references to summer Northern Hemisphere 2012 within this data set. There are repeated references to startlement and sudden fright and nervous worry or response within this set at several key levels of the archetype. The startlement/shock word sets are in their turn affecting, directly and by crosslink, the data sets for authorities and pan-global. This last is a duly modified set, so the interpretation is for a global fear fest or freakout involving the pan-global authorities. This set contains specific references to a period of intense unease that will last for 6 months. The forecast here is that the Fukushima ongoing nuclear disaster to contribute to the release language increase for a 6-month period that begins in either very late May or early June. This extends the worry and unease language to other manifestations of nuclear disaster. So what other manifestations of nuclear disaster could happen? If a typhoon hurricane is coming over a site in which is already devastated and contaminated, and they're trying to cover it up with all kinds of crap to stop it from spewing radioactive crap, other manifestations of nuclear disaster, would that mean grabbing all that crap in a big giant twisty thing called a hurricane or typhoon and slinging it hundreds of miles or kilometers or whatever? Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's exactly what that could mean. I'm not saying it does, right? I gotta give you my disclaimer, but it sure as hell could be, for sure. Isn't that interesting? Now, where was I? These will likely be new events, it says. Really? This set contains references to a flight to safety, which will be directed south of the equator. This set contains specific references to a ring of 540 miles, presumably, maybe, around Fukushima power plant, it says, that will be declared to be no life and all must move. Same thing would happen if that situation, which is happening almost as soon as it hits over there, and they know this could grab nuclear the highly deadly stuff that will kill you very fast and spreads it around the size of the storm, we've got to evacuate the whole area, right? So references to a ring of 540 miles and presumably around Fukushima power plant that will be declared to be no life and all must move. Further, the supporting sets go to the idea that everything regionally, nationally, and slightly less so globally is in a furor of turmoil / chaos / upset. These sets do include shorter term values that are very long range, that show some clans or groups and individuals who will be adjusting to the relocation by the end of this year. So keep in mind, if this typhoon slams into there, hits Fukushima, they look at it, oh my god, it's definitely grabbed radiation and slung it even more. Now we have more areas way further out than Fukushima that are as deadly or very close to being as deadly as Fukushima. Therefore, these people are never coming back. They will always be relocated. Have fun at your new location. That's exactly what this is saying right now. Not my example, but considering the events I'm looking at right now today, man, this could be it. Could be it. Again, disclaimer, maybe not. Additional note, as an aside to the main point, there are some hints within the specific diaspora, which is lots of people fleeing, data sets that show that some people will make a great success of their response to this forced relocation. These successful relocators will share a dedication to careful attention to detail, or doing it right the first time, and a far view of potentials. And another piece was, the data sets are indicating that prior to July 10th, plus or minus several days, of course, the tone relative to the ongoing Fukushima disaster will change to one of conflict and trouble, just as the disaster word shifts within the public consciousness over to catastrophe or cataclysm. The idea is that yet more of the same do-nothing intellectual and more moral failure from leaders can be expected. Other very key linguistic structures accrue to the whole data set of Fukushima / disaster after model space is progressed past July 10th. From that point forward, the primary supporting set is stillness, soundless, noiseless, empty, calm, deep, and other representations of profound silence. So apparently the shock or large noise that will produce or induce startlement around the planet will be followed sometime after July 10th. Now, let's read that first part again. The data sets are indicating that prior to July 10th, today's the 19th of June, this hurricane thing is going to hit there now. And I don't know if it's today, tomorrow, 3 days, it's sometime this week. If this is the event, then that means by July 10th, this thing's already going to be gone. Obviously, it'll be gone in several days from now. But by July 10th, plus or minus a few days, as it always says, plus or minus a few days, the tone relative to the Fukushima disaster, right, the original disaster, will change to one of conflict and trouble, just as the disaster word itself, shifts within public consciousness and changes over to catastrophe or cataclysm. Would that not be a catastrophe or cataclysm if this storm, this hurricane, blows through there, grabs all that radioactive crap and dumps it all over Japan, or most of Japan, or a large portion of Japan, and then out into the sea? Because the rest of this report that I'm not even reading right now, I've already read most of the other stuff, back when the report came out last month, talks about fisheries, global problems, radiation, fish, don't eat it, man. This is the beginning of the end, son. Jesus Christ. This could be it. And it hasn't hit yet. I know it's there, and that's why I have the foresight right now to look at this thing. Man, wasn't the Webbot saying something about forced evacuations? I see a headline today, boom, forced evacuations about to take place in Japan because of the cyclone, typhoon, whatever, right? Cyclone, typhoon, hurricane, call it whatever you want. And as soon as I saw the headline, bingo, I gotta go get the Webbot report. Let me go open up my old one. Here it is, boom, boom, boom. Let me do a little search for Fukushima. Okay, here's the paragraph, start reading, bam, right in my face. This event, if this damn hurricane thing causes a problem over there, and they're evacuating now just because of the hurricane. But what happens later, for example, after it passes? And then they realize, uh-oh, it's grabbed radiation from one central location that was already devastating for like 50 miles or whatever it was. And now that's 200 miles, or as this says, original, something to do with approximately 540 miles of something. First page. Holy crap. This could be a huge, and not in a good way, webbot hit. And as a matter of fact, most webbot hits aren't good anyways, but at least you know what's coming and you can prepare for them. The only one good hit that I'm still waiting for will be when silver absolutely goes incredibly high, out of control. That's one that'll be good for me, but it also signifies it'll be bad for everybody because the global economy is going to be in big trouble at that time too, which also means it'll be bad for me too, but I'll still at least have that offsetting by silver skyrocketing and then be able to go do stuff. So, having said all that, that is one hell of a statement to come out in that report, considering circumstances today with this typhoon Fukushima is staring down the barrel of a gun, and that gun is this damn typhoon. Wow.